Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to this week's Weekly Energy Boost. My name is Elisheva, and I'm here to share with you how to literally elevate our minds out of the mud, out of the noise, out of the bombardment and chaos of this world to do the true work that all of us were intended to do. And this carries on the theme that we started with a couple weeks ago, utilizing the month of Virgo as a transformation workshop to take all of the negativity, all of the chaos, the drama, the nonsense that we created in the past year and convert, maybe I should even use the word, to compost those moments into food that can feed our soul and that can be utilized to brighten this world that we live in. Last week, the work was looking outside, trying to figure out how we, in our own ways that we treated others, that we took opportunities or didn't that were presented to us, how they affected our connection to our soul in the light of the Creator. This week, we're focusing more on the internal darkness, not the darkness that we may have created with actions or words, but really our own consciousness. And hopefully we'll understand how to utilize the next 7 days as a catapult out of the mud that we're trudging around in because of the person that we were, and how to truly elevate to become the person we're meant to be. Weekly Energy Boost is a 7-day spiritual weather forecast where we provide our listeners with the most practical and powerful tools to transform the coming 7 days into the universal workshop that they were meant to be. We do that by extracting wisdom and tools from the teachings of Kabbalah so that every episode ends up offering wisdom and tools that not only can serve you this week, but can serve you any week of the year, any year of your life. And our compass for this week's episode is the Torah portion of Ki Tavo, which, if you look at the simple story, it's going to tell us if you do X, Y, and Z, you're going to be blessed. If you're going to do X, Y, and Z, you're going to be cursed. And the promised land awaits those of you who do this work, which again, it's one of those scenes that you could say at the very simplest level that the literal text has, a little bit to offer as far as human beings on planet Earth in 2026, but there's so much hidden in those teachings, in those codes in the Bible. And the Zohar helps us to understand that rather than elevating from the desert to the promised land, this week is about elevating our consciousness from the ego-driven physical world into the upper world where the Creator's light has no limits and no boundaries. And that's not a place that's 32,000 feet in the sky. It's actually within. And I think that that's something that requires us to shift how we maybe perceive consciousness or even the force of the Creator in general, because most of us think that God is something out there somewhere. Or if I elevate high enough, maybe I'll reach a certain level where I'll understand God or be able to talk to the Creator or have guidance and intuition come to me, prophecy even. The Kabbalists say no. There is a spark of the light of the Creator inside every single one of us through which that force is connected to us and communicates with us. So when you think about anything that's not light-like, not Creator-like, not soulful, that's not who we truly are. The worries, the fears, even our physical desires really stem from our ego, what we call in Kabbalah, the desire to receive for the self alone. And this week, we're focusing on the darkness that we revealed when we allowed external circumstances to consume us. That when we allowed the outer world to change our inner world. And we've talked in many episodes about how real joy, real fulfillment doesn't depend on anything outside of us, any person, anything, any situation. But this is the week that we're being given the opportunity to check our inner world, over the past year, the progress or the setbacks that we experienced, and identify those blips in our connections so that we can heal them. If you want to think of those blips, those cuts in our connection as, I mean, in a way, you could think of it like a transmission, right? If you're receiving a radio signal from the mothership, from the light of the creator, and internally you experience anger or fear or jealousy, and those, every time you're in that space, you create interference in the broadcast. So what we're really looking for is those moments that in our perception, the creator maybe went radio silent, but it was really us who created a discord between the light of the creator, or between our souls and our inner world, so that transmission couldn't be received. And I know it's a very different way to look at our relationship with source, with the creator, but that's really how it is. And really it explains so much of, right, why am I so miserable right now? Why do I feel so dark? Why do I feel so negative? This is the week to go back and collect all of the evidence, all of those moments where we let our inner world be affected by the outer world, not in a positive way. And we'll talk about how to fix that when it does happen, but more so, again, to look at those moments as that wasn't something bad that I had to go through. There was actually light waiting for me to be revealed there by doing something other than what I did, and I missed it. So when we go back to those moments when we missed it and acknowledge, hey, I missed it, we retrieve those sparks and change those dark moments into light moments. So when you look at the biblical text and you see the curses, you realize, no, it's not about, if you do this, the land is going to turn on you, which may actually happen. But the deeper lesson is that if you choose darkness internally, I'm not saying that you choose to hurt someone else. That was last week. In this week, we're focusing on the darkness we created for ourselves. And there's a beautiful section in the Zohar that says, and I'm sure we've mentioned it at least once in the 460 episodes we've done, but it's a paragraph that talks about two guys who are on a boat, and one starts drilling a hole under his seat, and the guy sitting opposite him says, "You fool, what are you doing? You're going to sink us all." And the guy says, "What do you want from me? I'm only drilling under my seat," right? As an illustration of how we perceive the harm we're okay to endure ourselves, the self-punishment, the darkness that we say, okay, well, no, it's only affecting me, so what's the big deal? You can't only drill a hole under your chair in the boat. It's going to affect the collective. But even more than that, and I think that's also a big part of last week, that even, when I need to be cognizant of how my own compartment in the boat is connected to the whole ship, but also to realize that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. We learned that in physics, maybe in like 3rd or 5th grade, right? But that also, or even more so, applies in the spiritual world. So that if you say, screw it, I'm going to be selfish right now, or, I'm going to go into a downward spiral, I'm going to go back to a past addiction that I kicked before, I don't really care, screw it all. That's not an isolated incident. And those boomerangs, we don't get to choose when they come back. And I think it's a really beautiful angle to look at cause and effect, because in our lives, we treat others, I think, more harshly than I think we'd like to admit, even if we are self-proclaimed people pleasers. In our minds, we cut people off, we write them off, we say, That person is this and this person is that. And we don't usually give second chances, or certainly not third chances, when the light of the Creator is constantly giving us chance after chance after chance after chance. If you do spend a month in a downward spiral, the light of the Creator is still shining on you, waiting for you to pull your head out of the sand and get back to where you were before. There is no such thing as too far gone. Nobody is ever a lost cause. And when we turn that perspective on our own selves, it makes the work of this week otherworldly, because you realize, and I hope that everyone has this realization this week, that as you go through the moments in the past year where we were self-destructive, where we didn't listen to our inner voice, where we allowed situations or people to consume us, take advantage of us, act out of anger, and all the possible negative things we may have done this year. When we go back and we say, that person, that version of me was doing the best that she could with the tools that she had. Maybe I was exhausted, maybe I was burned out, maybe I was all the things, and you give that version of you compassion and feel the pain of the darkness that you sat in, committing not to let yourself go back there ever again, right? And it's not about, well, I can't do that because who knows? No, it's about the resolution. And when you resolve not to be that person again, the universe supports you to not become that person again. Now, the final step in the tshuva process that we started to talk about last week is that you will be tested. Once you make the commitment not to reveal that darkness again, it's not to reveal darkness ever. It's not to reveal that darkness, not to repeat that crime. And obviously it's not a crime. I'm just using it, the language as a metaphor. If you resolve not to go there ever again, you've only proven yourself once you've been given the opportunity and you resist it. So we're awakening a longer term process when we do this work, because we're saying to the universe, I'm not that version of me anymore, and I want to prove it to you. And when we do successfully go through those steps of identifying the incident, feeling the pain, resolving to be a different person, and then passing the exam, then that darkness that we revealed in November becomes light. So again, it's identifying, feeling the pain, committing, and then passing the exam. And as we go through that, right, it's not going to be in the same, it doesn't happen in the course of 5 minutes, but the whole idea of going back and collecting the incidents is that what we remember and take to heart, the universe doesn't need to remind us about later on. If we feel the pain in that moment, we don't need the boomerang to come back at us. That's the boomerang, because normally the laws of cause and effect will ensure that if I need to cleanse if I do something negative and need to cleanse that negativity, the boomerang will come back at me, not as punishment, but as healing, as transformation, as we call it correction, tikkun. So usually I look at the boomerang and I say, what did I do to deserve this? Well, in the physical body, we don't have the optic, we don't have the visual ability to see the incident from the past year that set off that boomerang that I'm eating for lunch right now. However, by looking at the boomerang and saying, even if I don't like it, it's perfect. That's what this week is about. This week is about not letting not letting my perspective that something is bad or painful or difficult prevent me from experiencing the blessing it's meant to give me. The greatest blessing is developing the consciousness that there's light in everything. Even the things that I don't like or didn't ask for, or didn't order, or wouldn't wish on my enemy. Everything is intended to elevate us. We are the ones who determine if it elevates us or if it crushes us. If it helps us rise to our next level, to another version of ourselves, or if it makes us stay stuck, or even worse, puts us down. And so to me, a big part of this week is about having the certainty that whatever is in my purview, you want to call it, whatever comes across my radar is divinely designed to get me to a better place than I'm at in that moment. So whether it's I'm having an experience this week and I'm thinking, this always happens. And then I remember, oh, hey, in the podcast this week, they said, actually, I think it was last week, we talked about how there's a time tunnel that takes place this month where all the things that take place during the month of Virgo are really portals back to something else in the past year. And I notice myself being annoyed, frustrated, disappointed, whatever it is. And I think, oh my goodness, I was here before. When did this happen to me? Where was I? Who was I with? What was I going through? And know that you're being called in that moment to extract a diamond, a nugget from the experience so that that darkness can become light. So that when I remember that boomerang, I no longer am experiencing the present moment as the boomerang. It becomes a literal gift. At those moments, I am so grateful that the universe has such care for me to bring another. It's almost like you stepped in poop and the universe shows you your footprint and you're so grateful because you could have been walking around trailing poop all over your house. Really funny metaphor, I know, but that's really what it is. If we understood the mechanics of the universe and all the different things that need to take place in order for us to receive that boomerang, and not only for it to come back at us, but to have the consciousness to say, oh my goodness, this is not the first time I've seen this boomerang. I flung this out last April when I was on vacation, whatever it is. You say, oh my God, thank you so much. I completely forgot about this. And utilize every reactive moment this month is meant to be a portal to another time during this year where we experienced a similar thing, and we are being given the opportunity to convert that moment to light. So the promised land isn't a destination, it's a mindset. When you desire to see the synchronicity, the harmony, the divine design between everything that's happening for you, you will see it. The answers will come to you. If you think that it's random or there's a conspiracy or someone's out to get you or God doesn't like you, that's the reality you're creating. So keep in mind this week, I don't know if it's prudent to advise everyone to sort of view life as though it's happening on a screen. And as you're watching different things happen, people come and go, texts, emails, events, whatever, constantly looking at the screen and saying, what's this trying to remind me of? The Creator sent me this experience so that I would collect an incident from the past. What was it? And to really take that daily reflection time seriously, because there's a lot going into making it happen for you. You don't want to miss any of it. And that's why the cosmic event that we call Rosh Hashanah is so vital, so essential. It's like we spend the whole month of Virgo collecting dirty dishes, and on Rosh Hashanah, those 2 days, it's like the cosmic dishwasher. Everything gets scrubbed away. And so if we haven't already, I want to make sure that you know about the event that we have in New York in a couple weeks. You can sign up to join us for the connections, the lectures, the workshops, etc. It's really a transformative event, especially for people who do this work year round, to then come together with thousands of students and teachers from around the world to direct the opportunity of that window in time, which is reboot. It's the 2 days of the year where all of humanity gets a new battery pack, a new download for the whole year. And when we do that together, not only with our own personal lives in mind, but with all of humanity in mind, we truly change the world. So I hope you can be there with us. Weekly Energy Boost is available on all podcast platforms, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. You can follow us on those platforms to receive even more content throughout the week to support you in living what we share in every episode. You can also go to weeklyenergyboost.com, where you can search through our archives, send us your questions, and click the donate button to be a part of making Energy Boost, Weekly Energy Boost possible. But as always, when you share this episode with one more person, that's really the kind of stuff that changes the world. Not a week goes by where I don't hear from someone who says, my friend sent me your podcast and I'm so grateful. Thank you for doing this work. So I want to thank you guys for doing the work of getting the word out there. And we'll see you next week on the Weekly Energy Boost.